What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here on the Breakdown Sportscast YouTube channel. Hope you guys are doing well out there. We got a special segment that Chris and I have been working in the background on, and we're happy to bring that to you guys here today. We have spring previews for the 2026 campaign. As Chris and I were talking on the last episode of the Breakdown Sportscast. We were talking about how teams are taking this time to find themselves and get ready for spring ball and all. That's happening right now, folks. Your favorite teams are they've went through the winter workouts. They're still going through workouts, and they're out there doing things for spring. That way they can kind of see who's some of the top dogs that can lead their team for next season. So spring previews that we're gonna have for you guys. We're excited about these. What we're going to do, we're gonna start off with the ACC conference. We'll start off with the ACC, and then we'll go in alphabetical order through each conference through the ACC, and we'll try to go through all Power Four conferences. So this should be a fun one. But yeah, what on today's show, we're going to start off with none other than Boston College. Chris, I know me and you, we've been talking about it in the background. Boston College, trying to make some things shake in 2026. Bill O'Brien, he's seen some success since he's been there. In the past, a couple years ago, he had Castellanos at quarterback, and then of course, he decided to take his talents down to Tallahassee at Florida State. But this is another year under the Bill O'Brien regime, trying to make BC a contender or a threat in the ACC conference. What are we looking at right now, Chris? I mean, they got a bevy of transfers that have come into the program. What are we looking at so far for Boston College in 2026?
Yeah, no, this season, I mean, it's a big year for BC for Bill O'Brien. I mean, his team is coming off a 2-10 season. Kory 1-7 in conference play in 2025. So he had nowhere to go but up, and this team lost some of its best players. You did have some of your guys transfer out. You end up losing Reed Harris, you're your top wide receiver. He transfers out to Arizona State. But they brought in a lot of guys. You bring in 26 transfers. And we're curious to see how everything plays out, Kory. I mean, it's really a toss up. There's a lot of flux when it comes to this team. And when you have a lot of flux, it leaves opportunities to where we don't know if they're going to necessarily just be terrible, or will this team be better than last year's team? Or can they surprise? Can this team even maybe challenge to be bowl eligible? Now, I think for Bill O'Brien, if this team goes 6-6 and they reach a bowl game, I think that's quite the improvement. That's a huge step forward for a team that was just 2-10 the year prior, and can definitely buy him some time and light a fire, ignite the fan base. Because BC, man, we've seen it for years, Kory. BC used to be a staple, a team that would really compete in college football, and we've been a little bit removed from those days. So we'll see if this team can get tapped back into that and have a good season.
You're absolutely right, Chris. I mean, 2-10 last year. Man, that was definitely rough. After not having a guy like Castellanos being there at the quarterback position, and it's just it's definitely time to improve. If you're a BC fan, and if you're Bill O'Brien in general, you wanna make sure that this team can compete in a conference like the ACC that, granted, a lot of people have talked about it, that the ACC can be a winnable conference, especially now in the last few years. Clemson hasn't been up to snuff.
Mm-hmm.
Florida State, they definitely haven't been up to par than what they used to be in years past. So, it is that time where a team like a Boston College should be, competing in the ACC conference. When you have the likes of Duke and SMU and all of these teams out there that are actually making moves, actually getting
Mm-hmm.
players
Mm-hmm.
in. There's no excuse if you're Boston College. So hopefully with the changes in players from the transfer portal, things can start to come into fruition now. And I know we had talked about it. They have a bevy of players that are coming into the program, Chris, and
Yeah.
I think that that definitely bodes well for Boston College in order to be competitive. They need that competitive nature in them because, man, if they're not if they don't have it this year, I just don't see Bill O'Brien making it another year
Yeah.
at Boston College. That's just what it is. So hopefully guys like wideout Jackson Wade,
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas
Mm-hmm.
transfer quarterback Grayson Wilson, and Mason McKenzie, both those guys are kind of battling for that QB1 spot. And a
Mm-hmm.
bevy of these guys, hopefully they can compete
You got
well.
Nolan Ray came. He's a transfer running back from
Mhm,
Maryland.
mhm,
Evan Dickens from Liberty, and then you had you got a redshirt freshman, Dodd, who is a big body running back. So you got guys who we aren't necessarily sure. We know they're talented, but can it all come together? Can you bring them all together to get on the same accord and to play well in one off season? That's the question. We're going to see if because some of these guys kind of went under the radar, and we're going to learn just how good of a talent evaluators Bill O'Brien and his staff are, and if these boys can come in and make an instant impact. Lord knows Bill O'Brien needs them to. They got to make an instant impact this season.
absolutely, yeah. Like it's go time. It's go time if you're Bill O'Brien, man. So hopefully, they find that spark about them, that makes them them, and can get them over the hump. Because, man, I'm just looking at this schedule, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see as spring practices go, and what Bill O'Brien says in terms of the confidence with his team. But they start off the season September 5th at Cincinnati. It's
Interesting game.
it's an interesting game. Not an easy place to play, Chris. We've seen people lose at Cincinnati. Just as Iowa State in the middle of the season last year. They found out. They messed around and found out. So yeah, it's an interesting schedule, but yeah, that is an interesting game to start off the season.
At least Cincinnati doesn't have Sorsby, so that's a positive side for BC. Like just as much as you have a new quarterback, they do too now. So if you mess around and beat Cincy at Cincy, that will be a statement game. That can kind of put people on notice. Like, wait a second, BC ain't playing.
Yeah.
Let's see here. That's a very respectable win.
No. You're absolutely right, Chris. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I mean, after that they'll have a 3-game homestand versus Rutgers, Maine, and Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Should be an interesting 3-game homestand to have to
Mm-hmm.
see what they're really made of. So and look, I know James Franklin, he's gonna be looking at their game too. Is like saying, hey, if I want to get these Virginia Tech fans happy, I gotta win a game like that
I
against
gotta beat
BC.
BC. Yeah,
First
yeah.
and foremost.
Uh,
So
it does go both ways because I know Bill O'Brien and his staff are probably looking at that game like, hey, Virginia Tech's trying to make something happen. They haven't been the same either. It's been a minute since VT has been VT. Let's see if we can take care of business and maybe get us a big win at home against them. So now it's that first, like you're saying, Kory, that first month of the season is definitely going to set the tone
yeah,
for BC.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Chris. And just to kind of wrap up with the previews, like some of the big games that they'll have, they have to travel to Georgia Tech, have to travel to Duke, and be pretty interesting. Have to
Mm-hmm.
travel to South Bend to take on Notre Dame, and then they finish off the season at Coral Gables against the Miami Hurricanes. So, there are some tough games on the docket, Chris,
Yeah,
for Boston College. But hey, like we said, Bill O'Brien, you're just trying to find ways to get better, be more competitive, and if they can be, look out for Boston College this year, and probably being someone's bracket buster
yeah.
in the
Now,
ACC.
yeah, definitely. I mean, the over under for the wins at 3.5. Hey, maybe you come out here and surprise some people. That'll be big for this team as they try to build momentum. So let's see what you got, BC.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Chris. So I'm gonna put them at 5.5. Maybe close to 6. But I'll get them right around 5.5 to see if maybe they have what it takes to win some tough games. And make something happen at the beginning of the year, and who knows? Maybe they can win some of those toss-up games. So 5.5 is what I have for right now for them.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it, folks. That is a Boston College spring preview. We got a ton of other previews for a number of teams in the ACC and beyond. So be sure to keep it locked here. This is the Breakdown Sportscast. Peace.